I'm 21, and I've lived most of my life believing my dad died in a house fire when I was 3. That's what my mom told me. What she told everyone, really. She said it happened during a freak electrical fire. That he died instantly. That there wasn't even a body to bury because the flames had destroyed everything. I grew up thinking my father was some kind of tragic hero, gone too soon, missed by all. There were no pictures of him in our house. She said it hurt too much to keep them around. She never talked about him much. Not in detail, anyway. Just vague stuff. He was funny, brilliant, loved me more than anything. I guess I thought that was enough. I didn't push for more. Until last week. It started with something simple. My college required a notarized copy of my birth certificate for a financial aid thing. I'd never seen the original document before. I'd always used copies from the school files. But this time I needed the real one, so I asked my mom where it was. She got weird. Like, too weird. Said she couldn't find it. Said it might have been lost in the fire. I didn't think much of it at first, until she offered to call the records office herself and handle it for me. That was a red flag. So the next day, while she was at work, I went through her filing cabinet. I found it in the back, inside an unmarked envelope, hidden behind old tax stuff. The original birth certificate. But there was something strange on it. The father's name. His full name. A name I'd never seen before, not the one Mom told me growing up. And then, below it, a signature. His signature. It didn't say deceased. There was no note, no date of death. Just a normal signature, as if he was still around when it was filed. That would have been weird enough. But then I noticed something else. The address listed under father's residence wasn't where we lived. It was somewhere totally different. A town I'd never even heard of until that moment. That was when everything started to unravel. I haven't confronted her yet. I haven't said a word. But I've been digging. And what I found next, that's when things got really strange. I typed the address from the birth certificate into Google Maps and found it right away. It was a small town about 3 hours away, practically on the edge of nowhere. Population barely 4,000. I zoomed in on Street View and felt this weird jolt in my chest when I saw the house. Old, red brick, kind of run down, but familiar in a way I couldn't explain. I had no memory of it, obviously. I was just a toddler. But something about it unsettled me. Like I'd seen it in a dream. I figured maybe I could find something online. A property record, a name attached to the place, anything. So I searched the county database and found a listing history. The property had changed hands 3 times in the last 20 years, but the original owner was the same name I'd seen on the birth certificate. My dead father. He didn't just live there. He owned it. And here's where things got even creepier. The most recent transfer was just 5 years ago, to someone with the same last name. First name wasn't familiar, but I couldn't stop staring at it. I thought maybe a brother? A cousin? I don't know. But I couldn't shake the feeling that my mom had lied, big time. That night, I barely slept. I kept going back to every little thing she'd ever said about him. Or more accurately, what she didn't say. Why no pictures? Why no family on his side? Why did she always change the subject so fast? It hit me all at once. There had never been an obituary. I checked every archive I could find. Newspapers, online memorial sites, public death records. Nothing. No fire. No fatal accident. No death certificate. It was like he'd just vanished. The next morning, I asked my mom something casual. Something innocent. If we ever visited any other towns when I was little. She hesitated. Said no. Then changed her answer. Oh, maybe once. When you were a baby. We drove upstate to visit someone, I don't really remember. That was it. That's when I knew she was hiding something. She always had this thing she did when she was lying, biting the inside of her cheek. And that's exactly what she did when she gave that half answer. I haven't stopped digging since. And yesterday, I finally found something that made my heart stop cold. A picture. Online. Buried in an old community Facebook page for that tiny town. It was just a group photo from a local fundraiser. Nothing special, except in the back, slightly blurred, was a man standing next to a woman and a teenage boy. The man looked exactly like me. Same nose. Same posture. Same eyes. He was older, maybe early 40s, but it had to be him. It had to be. And the post was only 2 years old. So if he's dead, who the hell is that? I saved the photo instantly. Zoomed in. Took a screenshot. Then another. I sat there staring at this man's face, comparing it to my own in the mirror, and it felt like my entire body went cold. He even had that slight freckle above his left eyebrow, same as me. It wasn't just a resemblance. It was like looking into the future. There was no way it was a coincidence. The caption said the event was hosted by a local Rotary Club in that tiny town, some fundraiser for rebuilding a community center after storm damage. I clicked through the page, desperately hoping to find another picture, maybe even a name. Found a few more group photos, but the guy wasn't tagged. No names. No mention of him. I spent the next 2 hours combing through every post that group had made for the past 5 years. Nothing direct. Just blurry backgrounds, half faces, glimpses. But he was there. Always on the edge of the frame. Like he was deliberately avoiding attention. Eventually I gave up on the Facebook page and started Googling the town again. Found a local paper that had a tiny online archive. One article about the same fundraiser popped up. It had a list of people who helped organize it. I scanned the names, my heart racing, not even sure what I was looking for. And then I saw it. Darren Wells. I froze. That was the name on my birth certificate. Father, Darren Wells. I clicked the name, praying it linked to something, anything. It didn't. But just seeing it in that context, in print, associated with a current event, that changed everything. If he was listed as an organizer, that meant he wasn't just present. He was part of it. Active. Alive. For 21 years, I believed he was dead. I mourned him. I imagined all the milestones he'd missed, my first day of school, my first heartbreak, graduating high school. Every time I blew out candles on my birthday, I wondered what he would have said if he were still around. But now I know he was never gone. He just left. Or maybe, she made him leave. That night, I didn't eat. I barely moved. My mom kept asking if I was okay, if I needed anything. I just told her I had a headache. I couldn't even look her in the eyes. Because every time I did, all I could think was, "You've been lying to me my whole life. And now? I need to know why." I couldn't get his face out of my head. The man in that photo, the one who looked like me, he was alive. Breathing. Smiling. Standing next to a teenage boy who looked like he could have been my little brother. That part hit me hardest. If that really was my dad, did he have a new family now? Did that kid know about me? Did he get the father I never had? My thoughts were spinning, and the more I tried to suppress them, the worse it got. So the next morning, I did something reckless. I called in sick to my internship, packed a backpack, and started driving toward that town. I didn't tell anyone. Not my friends. Not my mom. I just needed to see it for myself. The drive was quiet. Too quiet. Every song on the radio felt like a warning. I kept rehearsing what I'd say if I actually found him. I didn't even know what outcome I wanted. Did I want him to deny it all? Apologize? Explain why he never came for me? Or did I just want to see him, to confirm this wasn't just some insane coincidence? 3 hours later, I was there. The town was even smaller than I expected. Just a diner, a post office, a gas station, and a few stores that looked like they hadn't been updated since the early 2000s. Everything smelled like rain and cut grass. It was unsettling how normal it looked. I drove past the address from the birth certificate once, just to see if anything had changed. It hadn't. Same brick house. Same crooked mailbox. There were toys scattered in the yard, plastic dinosaurs, a bike, a deflated soccer ball. Someone definitely lived there. I parked down the street and sat in my car for nearly 20 minutes, trying not to lose it. Eventually, a woman came outside. Blonde. Probably late 30s. She called out something toward the house, and a kid came running out, maybe 11, 12. Then the door opened again. And he stepped out. Same man. Same face. Same damn freckle above his eyebrow. He was holding a drink, smiling like he didn't have a secret in the world. I couldn't breathe. I ducked down in my seat, heart pounding. I'd come here to find the truth, but now that I was staring it in the face, I suddenly didn't feel ready. What was I supposed to do, walk up and say, "Hi, remember me? The son you left behind 20 years ago?" I wanted to scream. But then something happened that made me go completely still. The woman, his new wife, I assumed, looked right at him and said his name. Loud enough for me to hear it clearly through my half-cracked window. She didn't say Darren. She said Michael. My father changed his name. Michael. That was the name she called him. Not Darren. Not anything close. He turned and smiled at her like it was the most natural thing in the world, like he hadn't just stepped out of the ashes of my childhood. My head was spinning. Michael. A new name. A new house. A new life. He was supposed to be dead. But instead, he was standing 20 feet away from me in a worn flannel shirt, talking to a woman who clearly had no idea what kind of man he used to be. Or maybe she did and just didn't care. I didn't even know what to think. Did he change his name to hide? To start over? Or was Darren the fake name and Michael the real one? Was I the lie? Suddenly, I felt nauseous. My hands were clammy, and I realized I'd been holding my breath. I ducked lower, praying they wouldn't see me. After a few minutes, the boy ran off into the backyard, and Michael, Darren, my dad, whoever the hell he was, kissed the woman on the forehead and went back inside. I sat there in my car like a ghost, still. Empty. Like I'd just witnessed something I was never meant to see. I could have left right then. But I didn't. I couldn't. Because right as I was about to start the car, something caught my eye, on the porch, tucked behind a flower pot. A small, gray mailbox. Not the main one on the curb, this one looked more like a drop box. And scribbled on the top in black marker were 3 barely legible letters. M.W. Michael Wells. Wells. Same last name as mine. That was it. I knew then, I hadn't made a mistake. He hadn't died. He'd walked away. And whatever story my mom had told me, it was carefully crafted. Built to erase him. I backed out slowly and drove to the diner I'd seen on the way into town. I needed Wi-Fi. I needed names, timelines, anything. And I needed it now. I pulled up my birth certificate again and stared at it, like maybe there was something I'd missed. Same name, Darren Wells. And then I opened the local newspaper site again. Typed in Michael Wells. And right there, in a 4-year-old article about that same fundraiser? His face. His name. Michael Darren Wells, referred to as a longtime resident, youth baseball coach, and devoted father of one. I stared at that sentence until it stopped making sense. Father of one. Not 2. Just 1. Father of one. It echoed in my head like a drumbeat. Over and over. Not 2. Not father of a son from a previous relationship. Just 1. That boy in the yard, the kid who got bedtime stories, baseball practice, a porch light left on for him. He was the only one that counted. And me? I was the ghost he left behind. I shut my laptop and sat there in that rundown diner, staring at the cracks in the vinyl seat across from me, trying to stop my hands from shaking. The waitress came by twice, asking if I needed anything. I must have looked like I was about to pass out. I ordered a coffee just so she'd leave me alone. There was no denying it anymore. My mom lied. And so did he, just in a different way. He did it with silence. With vanishing. With a new name, a new family, and a face full of peace, like none of this had ever existed. I thought about going to the house. Knocking. For a split second, I imagined him opening the door, recognition lighting up his eyes, pulling me into a hug like some movie ending. But that was a fantasy. Because if he wanted to find me, he could have. And if he didn't even tell this new town I existed, what would I even be to him now? A problem. A threat. I scrolled through the article again. Found another mention, something about how Michael Wells and his wife, Jennifer, have lived in town since 2006. I did the math. That was the same year my mom told me the fire happened. Same year he was burned beyond recognition. So now I had a new theory. There was no fire. Or if there was, maybe it wasn't accidental. I paid for the coffee and drove straight to the local library. Small place. Dusty shelves. A public computer with a sticky keyboard that barely worked. I didn't care. I logged in and started searching for news articles from 2006. Fires. Accidents. Obituaries. Nothing. No fire at the address my mom said we lived at. No mention of Darren Wells in any report. No heroic father lost in blaze. No anything. But that wasn't even the worst part. Because while I was searching, I stumbled across something that made my skin crawl. A marriage license. Issued in 2005. Darren Wells and Jennifer Moore. That wasn't my mom's name. Which means, he was already married. A year before he died. He was already married. The license was there in black and white. Dated June 2005. Filed right here in this town. Jennifer Moore and Darren Wells. Not Michael. Darren. So he didn't change his name after leaving my mom. He changed it after marrying someone else. My hands went numb. I sat there in the library, surrounded by the hum of the copier and the click of other keyboards, trying to hold back the sick feeling rising in my throat. He wasn't dead. He wasn't lost in a fire. He was just gone, and building a brand new life while I was still learning how to tie my shoes. I thought about my mom. All the times she said she couldn't talk about it. The way she used to cry alone at night when she thought I was asleep. The bitterness in her voice every time Father's Day rolled around. What if she wasn't lying to hurt me? What if she was lying to protect me? That thought rattled me more than anything else. Because if she wasn't the villain here, then maybe she had every reason to bury his name. Maybe she wasn't hiding him, maybe she was hiding me from him. And then I found the last piece I wasn't ready for. I kept searching through marriage and court records, digging deeper, faster, more desperate. And that's when I found the file. Family Court, 2004. Petition for full custody, Melissa Carter vs. Darren Wells. My mom filed for full custody of me. There was no response from him on record. No countersuit. No visitation rights claimed. No pushback at all. He didn't even show up. It was like he vanished on purpose. Like he didn't just leave me, he gave me away. Suddenly, every memory I had of missing him turned bitter in my mouth. This wasn't an accident. This was abandonment, by choice. And yet, one question still haunted me. Why the hell would my mom fake a death? Why tell me he burned in a fire? Why not just say he left? Unless she was afraid of what would happen if I ever looked for him. That thought rooted itself in my mind like a weed, twisting, spreading, choking out every other explanation. What if she wasn't just afraid of him leaving? What if she was afraid of him coming back? I left the library in a daze, barely remembering how I got back to my car. I sat in the driver's seat for almost an hour, trying to figure out what kind of man walks away from a toddler and never looks back. And what kind of woman covers that up with a story so brutal, so final, that her own child never questions it. I had 100 versions of the truth running through my head, and none of them felt right. Until I remembered something. Something small. Something I hadn't thought about in years. When I was little, maybe 5 or 6, I had this recurring nightmare. I'd wake up screaming, convinced someone was banging on our front door. Always the same dream. Always the same voice on the other side, low, angry, slurred words I couldn't understand. I'd cry and tell my mom the bad man was outside again. And every time, she'd scoop me up, hold me tight, and whisper the same thing. He can't hurt you. Not anymore. At the time, I thought it was just a way to comfort me. Just something moms say to make the monsters go away. But now? Now I'm not so sure. Because if she really thought he was dead, why would she say that? I drove back home that night, stomach in knots, barely blinking. My mom was watching TV when I walked in. She smiled, asked how my day was, offered to heat up leftovers. I stood there in the hallway and asked her the question that had been clawing at me since the moment I saw his face. Why did you tell me he died? Her smile faltered. She didn't answer right away. Just stared at me with this expression I couldn't read, somewhere between fear and exhaustion. Then she said something that made my skin crawl. She whispered, "You found him, didn't you?" And that's when I knew. She'd always known this day would come. She didn't look surprised. Not angry. Not even sad. Just tired. She sank into the couch like the weight of the lie had finally caught up to her, like she'd been carrying it on her shoulders every day for the past 18 years and couldn't hold it any longer. And I stood there, frozen. Waiting. She didn't ask how I found him. Didn't deny it. Didn't ask what I knew. She just stared at the floor and said, in this flat, quiet voice I barely recognized, I was never supposed to see him again. That's when the floodgates opened. She told me everything. The short version? He didn't leave because he wanted freedom. He left because she made him. Because he was dangerous. Not in the way I expected, not a criminal, not some drug addict, not even physically abusive. No. He was a manipulator. Cold. Calculating. The kind of man who smiled while he tore people apart. She said the first year they were together, he was charming, sweet. Everything she thought she wanted. But once she got pregnant with me, everything changed. He started controlling every part of her life, her friends, her clothes, her job. Every argument ended with her apologizing. Every mistake she made turned into some twisted reason why she was unfit to be a mother. Then, just after I turned 2, he took me. Not for long. Just a weekend visit, she said. But when he brought me back, I had bruises on my arms. Tiny ones. The kind you wouldn't notice unless you looked closely. She did. When she confronted him, he laughed. Said she was too sensitive. Said I'd fallen while running around. Said he knew how to raise a kid better than she did. Said if she tried to take me from him again, she'd regret it. That was the day she filed for full custody. That was also the last time she saw him. He didn't fight her in court. Didn't call. Didn't write. He just disappeared. She said she waited, at first. Expected him to come back, to try and take me again. She spent months looking over her shoulder, sleeping with a bat by the bed. But he never showed. And after a year of silence, she made a decision. She told me he died. Because she figured, maybe if I believed he was gone, I'd never go looking for him. I'd never find him. Until now. I didn't say anything for a long time. I just stood there, staring at my mom like I was seeing her for the first time. Not as my mother. Not as the woman who raised me. But as someone who had been terrified, for years. Someone who'd spun a lie so big, so final, just to protect me from a man she once loved. And I get it. But I also don't. Because she never gave me a choice. She robbed me of the truth. Of the chance to know where I came from, even if it was messy, even if it was dangerous. I had to dig it up myself, piece by piece, like unearthing a grave no one wanted to admit existed. And now? Now I don't know what to do with it. I haven't told her I drove to the town. I haven't told her I saw him, with his new wife, his other son, the house, the porch, the smile. I haven't told her that for 2 seconds. I thought about knocking. Because here's the hardest part. Even after everything, after the lies, the silence, the abandonment, I still want to ask him one thing. Why? Why didn't you fight for me? Why did you leave so easily? Why do you get to start over, while I'm stuck digging through the past with bloody hands and no answers? I still have that photo from Facebook saved to my phone. I look at it sometimes, late at night, when everything's quiet and my mom's asleep in the next room. I stare at his face, trying to read it, trying to see if there's any trace of regret. But there never is. Just peace. Like his life finally makes sense, because I'm not in it. So no, I haven't reached out. And I don't think I will. Because now I know the truth, and the truth is, some people bury the past not to forget it, but to survive it. And maybe that's exactly what my mom was doing all along. So I'll carry it. The anger. The ache. The hollow space where a father should have been. I'll carry it, quietly. Because some questions don't deserve answers. Some ghosts should stay dead.